Thank you, Dr. Klaper. Up next, we have somebody named DF, the initials DF. If you'd go ahead and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Dr. Klaper. Thank you for all the work that you do. I follow you for a long time. I have a couple of quick questions. The first one, I heard that dairy cheese, dairy yogurt, and dairy ice cream don't have as much IGF-1 as dairy milk. I'm not sure how true it is. I heard that from some paleo dieters. That's why it's okay to have those products. And another question is that there are some coconut oil in supermarkets that actually don't solidify at room temperature. But when I looked at their saturated fat content, it seems that the saturated fat content in those liquid coconut oil, it's pretty much the same as like solid coconut oil. So I'm not sure whether I'm missing something, maybe the manufacturing process, I don't know. Thank you.
Right. Okay. As far as the dairy, we have no more need for the milk of a cow than you do the milk of a giraffe or the milk of a moose. Would you pour rat milk on your cereal? Would you pour dog milk on your cereal? What is this? We're enamored by the milk of a cow. It's not healthy for us, independent of the IGF-1. And by the way, yes, that mother cow wants to give lots of IGF-1 to the calf. That's true. But the real problem is not the IGF-1 in the milk. It's the IGF-1 your own liver puts out in response to the dairy protein in the cheese and the ice cream, etc. It's your own IGF-1 that you shouldn't be putting out in large volumes as an adult that spawns these abnormal growths. Second, on my uncle's dairy farm in the 50s, when a cow was fertile, we'd lock her in a stanchion, call the breeder. He would ram bull semen into her uterus. She'd become pregnant. And if she was giving milk, she'd stop giving milk. Pregnant mammals don't lactate. They dry up. And my uncle had to say, well, bossy number 17 won't give milk till she has her calf in the spring. That's just biology. Well, in today's modern dairy operations, they're milking 1,000 cows, 2,000 cows twice a day. They can't afford to have their best milkers go offline for 9 months at a time while they're carrying their next calf. So they genetically modified the cows. And now the cows will give milk, even though they're pregnant with their next calf, they're still sucking milk off the calf, off the cow. Well, a pregnant mammal has, all her tissues are full of estrogens, including the milk, gets into the milk. Studies showing that when you drink milk from pregnant cows, and they're all pregnant now, estrogen levels go up. And these are not the puny little phytoestrogens in soy. These are official mammalian active estrogens, estrone, estradiol, estriol, pregnanediol, progesterone. This is what's in the milk, organic or not. And why in the world do you want to be consuming this substance? And plus, it's got herbicides and pesticides and leukemia viruses. It's a dirty product filled with these allergenic proteins and estrogenic hormones. Why in the world do you want to eat yogurt made of that and cheese made of that? And nowadays, there's all these lovely plant-based cheeses and yogurts and ice cream. Good heavens, let's leave the dairy behind. And plus, it's a cruel industry, even if it's organic dairy. To keep that milk flowing, you must take that calf away from the mother. Within 2 days, the mother cries for days after that. It's inherent in production of milk. The veal industry is every male calf gets its throat cut to keep that milk flowing. It's a cruel industry. It's time to let dairy go in the ways of the dustbin of history. There's plant-based milks nowadays. Pour that on your cereal. Leave the whole dairy thing aside, organic or not. And don't be eating coconut oil. Eat a piece of coconut, that's fine. But these oils just leap into your bloodstream. They damage your arteries, they upset your hormones. Oils are not natural whole foods. I would not use them.
Thank you, Dr. Klaper. Up next, we have Joel C. Joel, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself, please. And thank you.
Hello, Dr. Klaper.
Hey, Joel. I know you.
You came to Tampa 25 years ago.
I did.
And you spoke to 100 people at Hillsborough Community College. And
I did.
I've been a fan before and ever since. I'm so delighted to hear your talk. And I'm especially delighted to hear, stop kidding yourself. Stop kidding. I've seen in 32 years of classroom teaching, people who kid themselves, who ignore what you're talking about. And it is uncanny. The evidence is in that you're showing the proof of it in clinical practice. And yet these knuckleheads are not listening.
Yeah, and do you have a question? I want to cut you off, but I share your consternation there.
Well, the constant challenge is, my question is, you're teaching to medical students, and
Yes.
I'm delighted that you're teaching. That's your forte. But
Agreed.
Of your students, how many are picking up the ball and running with it?
Good question. And it's hard to know, of course. You know, they say once you look behind the curtain, you can't pretend you don't know what's behind the curtain. In my lecture, some of which I gave to you just now, is to tear that curtain down and to tell the student this is food before you order another $1,000 scan, another $500 set of lab tests. Ask your patients what they ate yesterday. That's why they're sitting in front of you, doctor. And if what they tell you is full of burgers and buffalo wings, send them to the plant-based dietitian. Let her or him do the counseling. You see them back in a month, and they'll be healthier. That's how medicine should be practiced. And I'm planting those seeds like Johnny Appleseed. I don't know which ones are going to sprout, but from the comments I get back, the students are saying, why didn't somebody tell us this? I'm so glad you turned on the light here. So I think it's really making a difference. I have that video on my website on drklaper.com. Go to my website and click on what I wish I learned in medical school about nutrition. You're welcome. All of you are welcome to see what I'm telling the medical students here. So hopefully we're the purpose is to create a generation of nutritionally aware physicians understanding the importance of their patient's diet, not to just blow right past it like we do now. But the knuckleheads, yes, people are kidding themselves, but it's not so much your fault. You've got this mega industry, this huge advertising industry, the meat and the dairy folks, burgers, French fries, fried chicken, pizzas, we're bombarded with that. And we think that that's the normal way to eat. So it's up to all of us to change our buying habits. What matters is when you're pushing that cart down the aisle, what you put in the basket, and what you order in the restaurant, and the example you set. Your friends notice what you're eating. They notice what you're ordering. That's how we change. We vote with our dollars and by our example. So they're not knuckleheads. They just don't know. They're still asleep. So help them wake up by your good example, and everything will start getting better from there. Thank you, Joel. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Dr. Klaper. We're going to bring in now Dan from the UK. Dan, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself for Dr. Klaper.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you for your lecture, Dr. Klaper. I have a quick question. So a couple of years ago, I was traveling in Indonesia, and I had a really bad kind of bout of food poisoning. And pretty much since then, it seems as though my kind of microbiome has been thrown off. And I've been vegan for 5 years anyway, and if I kind of eat, a high fiber diet, I find myself bloating a lot more than usual, and kind of my kind of digestion is not what it used to be. So basically, what would you advise for kind of rebalancing the gut ecosystem following that kind of disturbance?
Okay, important question. And I recommend a lot of probiotics. I don't so much anymore. We need to realize that by and large, the good bacteria down our gut, they're already down there in our gut, so are the bad guys, but the good bacteria are already down there. It's the food that we eat. It acts like the orchestra conductor in a symphony that brings up the woodwinds and tones down the brass. If we're eating healthy whole plant foods, they will foster the growth of the good microbes down there. Now, that said, to kickstart this, and I suspect you've already done that, but you're the rare case. Most folks, even after taking a course of antibiotics, it's been shown that probiotics really don't help much. But in these chronic folks, and the folks I have with Crohn's disease or colitis, I find a couple of months of a potent probiotic can start changing the flora a bit. It's just empirical, but that certainly seems to work. But for a long-term vegan here who's having problems, he needs to get out the fine microscope here and look at the individual foods. For a day or two, he should just eat, say, quinoa, just for a day or two, and see how much bloating and gas he has from that. And then add in some dark greens, his favorite dark greens. And these are well cooked. These are as well cooked quinoa, well cooked green, some kale or some broccoli. Really steam it well and have small amounts of that. And if kale and broccoli, if the quinoa and the broccoli or kale, gee, that doesn't cause much of a problem. Then every 48 hours, add back in another food, some blended, some well-steamed squash, and start reconstructing your diet, individual food by individual food. If you go to the Thai restaurant and you have stir fry with oils and spices and all stuff, and you get all bloating and gas, you won't know what did it. So if this is enough of an issue that you're consulting me about, then we go way back to square one. Just start with a healthy starch and a healthy green and a healthy yellow vegetable, and ride those for a few days and establish a little island of safe food, and then add in one food at a time every 48 hours. And if any morning you'll wake up bloaty and distressed, say, what did I eat yesterday? And look back and pull that out and put in something else. So you've got to do a very careful reconstruction after an elimination diet, and that would be and plus a overload of a good probiotic. And with a little luck, after a few weeks or months, you should notice a significant improvement. No
Thank
fun,
you.
but what you got to do. Thank you, Dan. Good to hear your British accent. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Klaper. Up next, and forgive me if I am butchering your name, but we have Yaron or Yaron. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Klaper, about the amazing presentation, and thank you for that real truth about health. I have two quick questions. One, you mentioned Dr. Esselstyn a few times in your presentation. He's kind of against nuts for recovering from artery disease. I'm wondering what are your thoughts about eating nuts? And the second is many substitutes for dairy are based on coconut milk, but coconut milk products have saturated fat. So what is your thinking about, again, from the perspective of artery disease, about coconut milk products?
Lovely question, very important. Dr. Esselstyn, yeah, you have to realize, God bless him, he's a real saint. And he takes on the toughest patients, the patients whose arteries are so caked up and so clogged up, they can't walk across the room without getting angina and taking nitroglycerin. If you're in that category, yes, you should not be eating any nuts. The little bit of nut oil can injure the gut wall a little bit and inhibit or injure the artery wall a little bit and inhibit the artery's ability to produce nitric oxide, which dilates it and lets blood flow in. If you're in that bad of shape, yes, nuts of any type are not your friend. But if you're not in it, if you've got wide open arteries, I'm 74 years old. I pedaled 10 miles this morning on my bike. I feel great. I had ultrasound of my arteries. They're nice and clean and wide open. A small handful of walnuts on my oatmeal is just fine. And so it depends where you are. The healthier your arteries are, the more liberal you can be. But again, at the most, we're talking a small handful of nuts, even my beloved raw walnuts, small handful, crumpled up, put on my oatmeal, that's it, okay? I asked Dr. Esselstyn, you really won't let healthy people eat a little bit of nuts? He says, Michael, I'm afraid if I say nuts are okay, that it's going to give people license to sit in front of a TV with a 5-pound bag of cashews and show no. Dr. Esselstyn says nuts are okay. And so he's just afraid of unleashing Pandora's box there. So it's easy for him to say no nuts. And fair enough. So you can see this continuum. It depends who you are, the state of your arteries, the state of inflammation in your body, artery disease and inflammatory disease. If you get your inflammatory markers, the HSCRP, and they're negative, a small handful of walnuts are not going to cause you a problem. But again, less is more. Don't be eating handfuls, especially of roasted nuts, but any of these other nuts, they're very high in omega-6 oils that can be pro-inflammatory. So small handful of walnuts, keep it at that. Coconut milk is full of fat. Yeah, absolutely. It is the coconut meat ground up and resuspended in water. And again, I don't have a problem eating a piece of coconut. Why? Or a couple of nuts. Why? Because the micro droplets of coconut oil in the piece of coconut, or the walnut oil, a piece of walnut, they're firmly attached to the fiber of the coconut, the fiber of the walnut. And when you chew it up and eat it, it takes hours for the digestive enzymes to get into that piece of coconut or walnut and start for the amylases to break up the starches and the lipases to emulsify the fats. And as a result, the tiny amount of fat in that piece of coconut get into your bloodstream very slowly, one pass through your liver, gone. But so that's why I don't have a problem with a couple of walnuts or a little piece of coconut. But you crush the fat out of walnuts or olives or coconut, and you create liquid oil. That stuff leaps into your bloodstream. Nothing slows down the absorption. And now you've got 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in your bloodstream, or 2 tablespoons of coconut of walnut oil, whatever. And it exerts pharmaceutical effects. It gets into the walls of the arteries and inhibits nitric oxide production, changes hormone levels, may increase cancer risks, makes the cell membranes more unstable. These oils have pharmaceutical effects. That's why us folks in the no oil camp are saying this is pharmaceutical chemistry you're doing here with these oils. They may taste good, but once you start stir frying your veggies and vegetable broth, that's really what brings out the flavor. After you make the transition away from oil, you don't even want to eat the stuff cooked in oils. So the same thing with coconut milk. It's basically just liquid coconut oil in a white sugary liquid. Not healthy for your arteries or any other tissues there. So I would say try going without the oils of all types, including the coconut milk.
Dr. Klaper, thank you for that. And up next, we have Pam. Pam T, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself, we're looking forward to your question for Dr. Klaper. And I think Pam is about to unmute herself. Let's give it one more second. Oh, here we are. Hi, Pam.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
I have a question. I heard you say that, as far as the body goes and stress, I have been under stress. I unfortunately have been dealing with an alcoholic situation in my life, and I really am taking it out on myself in a way, like trying to control it and everything. And I feel that it's done a lot to me as a person. So I'm trying to kind of wean away and just go into other ways of dealing with the stress of it. And I heard what you said, and it was very interesting. So I wanted to ask you about that a little bit.
Oh, my heart goes out to you, and welcome to the 21st century. How many of us are trapped in these stressful situations, money problems, relationship issues, and substance abuse from people we love. And you feel like you're in this pressure cooker and the refrigerator, like the cigarette smoker says, Doc, I got 20 friends here, and whenever I need them. And the same thing in the refrigerator. Here's taste delight whenever you want it. So what to do? And I wish I could wave a magic wand and clear that up. You've got to really, obviously, that person has to have a come to here about one, their issues and the effect it's having on other people, and on some level you've got to you got to declare a boundary that I can't do this anymore. This you're going to have to handle or whatever, but you need to establish some boundaries, some time or place where this is not affecting you, and you need to change your go-to foods that you're eating. You may still, this is a primordial thing when we're down, depressed, anxious, we eat. We do that. I do it. We all do that. But I've got a bowl of grapes in the fridge, and I've got some mango chunks, and I'll dole out a bowl of mango chunks, and I'll eat them one at a time. And after 10 or 12 of those, it's enough. And I know I haven't hurt myself. or I'll go through the grapes one at a time. I go outside, get out of the setting there, go outside and have one grape at a time and just really be with the experience of grape eating. And I've gotten my satisfaction food-wise from the stress that I was under, but I haven't hurt myself in the process. So I would go find some way, have a big bowl of vegetable soup in the fridge, ladle out a bowl of soup, microwave it, get it nice and hot, and have a nice hot cup of soup, and find these healthier alternatives to eat that don't hurt you along the way there. But again, that's kind of a band-aid. You got to get to the base of that problem, and the person's going to hurt themselves or hurt the people they love. And that's there needs to be a reckoning on that, and that's more than deeper than I can deal with at this Q&A. But good luck with that. But don't hurt yourself with your eating.